Okay, well, he's definitely a bad player. I mean, the original Carney was for sure. Lots of deep hidden, so he's doing a great job of really showing his true colors. I mean, the guy's a total snake, or so it appears. The guy playing him appears to be such a snake. So he ran his whole thing, how he got elected in the first place. Well, I think they just put him in. I don't think that election, probably they didn't even count ballots. I'm telling you, it was so fake and so fast, and there was no run up to it. And I just feel like, I don't even think they really counted ballots. I just don't buy it. I think the whole thing was fake. Trump was already signaling that he was going to see Carney right after the election. So he was already insinuating he knew Carney was in. Okay, so they just placed him there and pretended to have an election. Okay, that's what they've been doing all over the world, by the way. And if you don't think they can do that, look around. Okay, look around. That you saw that clearly in 2020 in the US. Anyway, it's been happening ever since all over the world, and I think it's been happening a lot longer than that, but they've purposely done it to show us that since 2020. Okay, so here we've got this really, really confused card. So that's Carney's card, and also with a lot of dark corners. So this guy's like, if you think you know bad things about him now, like he's even got worse stuff to uncover about this guy. And we've got the Six of Pentacles here. That's interesting, the Six of Pentacles. I feel like that's saying things aren't as bad as it appears. What you think he's doing, so we think he's sending a bunch of money. He's not even making a budget this year for Canada, but he's actually giving a whole bunch of money to the Ukraine, like doing everything what, WEF sort of their agenda, right? He's all about climate change and climate agendas. He's woke, he's all of that, okay? Or that's who he seems to be beholden to, is like deep state philosophies and taking down Canada philosophies, okay? That's what kind of agenda he seems to have. And he's showing his true colors so obviously right off the bat. So right away, that's a big clue that this guy's an actor. He's central casting, okay? But this card says a lot of what he's doing isn't really going to come to fruition. So in other words, a lot of the damage he appears to be doing, you need to know, Canadians, it's actually not going to hold. I doubt if he really is sending money to the Ukraine. I don't think any of these people have been sending money they've been saying they are, and I don't know where it goes to, or if they even move money around, because we know that the Alliance and the White Hats have been in control of a lot of governments for a long time. At least that's what I feel like I know. And the cards have been saying that. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from when I talk about these things. So see this 10 here. So that's a lot of what he's doing is for the general population, so they'll wake up. So they'll see what snakes. So they vote for this guy, and then he totally, within, in his case, days, drops all of his agenda that he got so supposedly elected on, and does the exact opposite, and then becomes really obvious that he's totally kissing Trump's ass. Like, it's absolutely astonishing. Apparently at that supposed meeting, I even think that was probably all filmed a long time ago or beforehand. I don't think you were seeing live footage I don't think any of this stuff's live. What's going on with NATO, I don't think that's real. I think it's filmed somewhere else, maybe even in film studios. I'm telling you, I'm not buying it. Okay, maybe they fly some Trump lookalike and it looks like he gets off the government plane in the Netherlands, and really it's not him, and he's not even there, and the real footage is taken somewhere else. Like, I don't think they're really doing any of these things, you guys. This is a huge theater production, I'm telling you. Okay, and the more I look at it, the more it looks like that. Okay, so if you don't like that I'm saying that, start looking around for yourself, okay? Because it's almost too obvious. It's like, when it's that obvious, it's like, you know what I mean? There's no way, there's too many things just too obvious. But anyway, So here we've got the Six of Wands right in the middle. Actually, there's a lot of things going on, I believe, in the background for Canada that have already been created that's going to make this place, or parts of this place, let's hope all of it, but parts of it for sure, a way better place to live. But none of it has anything. I feel like it's a lot of facade, what Carney's doing, and I feel like he's not actually doing the damage we think he's doing. He's just outing the WEF, right? Outing the players that play for the WEF, that sort of thing. Just like Trudeau, only take it up quite a few notches, if that's even possible, right? He took it up notches. So now we've got 5, 6, 7. So just be patient, that card says. Some seeds have been planted, and something's going to take this guy out. And I still think it could be the end of June, but it could be really early July as well. It still looks like that's in the playbook. So there's going to, and what it'll be, it looks like, is news. So something about him, and or news that takes out, maybe all the governments will come out on that news. I don't know if it's directly right at him. And it's something the alliance has been put in place a long time ago. And it's big, whatever it is. And it's big enough to take out maybe all those fake heads of government, but certainly Carney anyway. Because I might, with all those major arcanas there, those 2 in a row, I might be talking about all the governments come down then, which would be brilliant, or at least get really outed as the fakes they are. But yeah, how I'd answer that is, yeah, Carney is still set to be obsolete, and it's soon. Okay, soon, June, July, but soon. Okay, now let's look at a video. And the person that posted it on X, I found it on X on somebody's never ask for dollar. That's what you can see there, that's their little tag, right? But this is a guy from 1776 United, I believe is what he shouts out when he first starts chatting. So he's a patriot. I would call this guy a patriot, and he seems to be also connected in the military. Let's have a listen to what he says, because he seems to have some intel that's starting to make a little sense, and may or may not. We're going to look at what percentage of that. And we're only going to ask about this part that he's talking about in the first, say, 10 minutes. And I'm going to play, well, Coco's going to play the first minute and a half kind of thing, just so you get then I'll complete what he's talking about for you. And we'll look at just that part of his intel. We're not talking about his whole intel, okay? Because there's things I'd part ways with completely, but this part of his intel, I believe, could be true. I'm not sure. So let's have a listen.
Okay, greetings, patriots, Starseeds, light workers, and of course our brave military fighting to save our Constitution. And welcome to 1776 United, and we are in a worldwide and galactic revolution. Now, I just finished a video basically kind of telling you what they are showing you. Now I'm going to tell you what they're not going to show you right now. They're building this up to a World War III scare event, okay? And how they're going to do this is that they picked a fight with Iran, okay? Iran is going to retaliate into the United States, okay? Everybody knows that all these insurgents are here, and, this is the big buildup, right? Now, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news or anything else, but the United States is going to be attacked, okay? Now, but they're not attacking the United States Republic. They're attacking the United States Incorporated, okay? Because there's many, many, many satanic sites around the United States that need to be gone. Okay, remember when we talked? Okay,
So what he gets to, and it's quite long, and so I want to just succinct it for you. But what he gets to is that when he says they, it's not Iran going to attack the U.S. Okay, it'll be a classic false flag. It'll actually be the White Hat Alliance that pulls off what appears to be an attacks on the U.S., and that they're actually going to target all the satanic sites. So that combines some Q drops in there, okay? Because of course, Q told us that satanic sites were going to be taken out. I can't remember exactly which drop it was, but pretty sure that's a Q drop. Let me know in the comments if you got any, if you can remember that Q info, or where did that info come from originally. But that's been around in the truther community for years, that there's going to be these sites blown up. Okay, and he goes on to say that it'll look like Iran is taking out parts of the U.S., so normies won't know different. They'll think it is a World War III. Truthers will see that it's obviously, like if they're paying attention, that it's obviously a false flag, and it's actually done by the White Hat Alliance. And they're using Iran, or this excuse that Trump bombed, some deep base in Iran that was in some mountain that was supposedly where they were creating their nuclear ability, okay, and took it out completely, then bragged about it. And, so they're setting it all up. And of course, I didn't get that he did that. I don't know what exactly he did, but he didn't do that he says he did. It's very likely he was taking out something else altogether different. Okay. And the cards didn't seem to want to say exactly what it was. So a very secretive operation, right, that I felt like was leading into something totally different, which might even be what this guy's saying. So the part that I want to ask about is, he's saying that there's going to be this false flag, but it's actually pulled off by the alliance, okay, or the good military, and it's going to look like all of these places get targeted, and that's going to create the shutdown, lockdown. Everybody's internet will go off. You'll have outages in the U.S. and maybe the world. He wasn't sure. He also mentions that possibly London's going to experience the same thing, and all of these demonic centers all over the world could get bombed. It might not just be the U.S., but it would be the event that a lot of people have been talking about, okay? And it would be scary. It would be a scare event, and it would shut everybody down and create the need for martial law. And then, of course, they could roll out the EBS. Okay, then he goes on to say some other stuff, and I'm not asking about that other stuff, and I don't agree or disagree with his other stuff. I'm just saying, I'm not commenting on that one way or the other. I'm commenting on that bit that I just told you about. Is this Iran attack bragged about by Trump really about an excuse to pull off this false flag on the part of the alliance? It'll be them. That's what he says. Is that true? Is any of that true? Is that going to happen? And he says it'll happen, if it does, in the next 14 days. And that was yesterday he said that. So that brings us to what date? So 14 days from yesterday. I think that's the 7th of July. Let me know in the comments. So it's past the 4th of July. And remember when I did a read on the 4th of July, I didn't get that everything was going to go down on that day. I got it was later. So that's interesting. So let's have a look. So this guy totally just talking fear. Is he actually telling truth? Well, we got a major arcana right in the middle, but the middle card is how the others will see it. We got another major arcana here. Okay, so I feel like there's truth to it, but I'm not sure it's going to happen in 14 days. I don't think so. Maybe the truth part is there will be a false flag that leads to lockdowns and military control and then EBS, but I'm not sure it's this exact. So the part that's true isn't some of the details, he said. I don't think Iranian strike on their supposed nuclear, building facility or whatever it was. I don't think that part is what's going to create what this guy was talking about. I think he's described something that could actually happen, and they're considering doing that. So it looks like one of the plays that they could do. Don't forget, this is 5D chess, so they are playing the plays according to what they think is necessary, and according to all the other sort of feedback they're getting. Right. So military operations are works in process. It's not in progress, and it's not like a given that they're exactly going to do it. This, just because it's in the playbook, doesn't mean they'll play it. Okay. So it feels like this is definitely, he's describing a scenario that'll very likely be one of the events, but not necessarily because of that Iranian strike. I feel like that was something else, and I don't think this guy's got that right. Wow. Okay. And that's not to say he's not doing good work, right? He's putting two and two together, and that's what he came up with. And he's right in a sense that something like that will likely start the lockdowns in EBS. Okay. But it'll have to be something that dramatic. He thinks that'll be what brings everybody together and gets us all looking at the same thing. Okay. So that is a potential, like it's got, there's some legs to that, but I don't think this is going to be the thing that starts it all off. It'll be something like that, though, like likely a false flag or something. So he's got part of it right. Okay, now let's look at Trump goes to the NATO gathering. What did they call it? A summit, right? In Hague. Am I saying that right? It's in the Netherlands. And weird things ensue. Okay, so the first weird thing is that, some of these pictures, I feel like they're just photoshopped, photo-opt. I'm just not buying it. But anyway, apparently Trump calls the Queen and King after he meets them, and we're going to play the clip here. He calls them central casting. So let's have a listen.
There were all the prime ministers and the presidents and the kings and the queens, right? And I actually had breakfast today with a king and a queen who were beautiful people. Central casting, I must say. Very nice. We had a great time. We thought the Netherlands was fantastic, and I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you
made
very
big
much.
decisions today at the NATO Summit,
big,
so
big
that's
things
important.
happen.
Yes, absolutely.
Couple of things he said there. He said we saw a king and a queen, not the king and queen. So there's right there a clue that he didn't actually see the real king and queen. So those two are actors. He called them central casting. He also thanks this guy and says he's doing a great job. What, in his acting role? That's what it seemed like. Okay, so that, like, he's getting so obvious, you guys. Even normies got to be like raising their eyebrows. Right. And how many times does he use the word central casting? Right. Somebody did a collage, a video over the last year, even how many times he says it in public. And it's like a lot. Okay. Right. So let's have a look at the central casting comment. Do we have that right? Is he actually outing that the king and queen are actors? And that would basically, if that's true, everything I've been saying is true, that we're watching a big theater. So yeah, it's big. It's huge. So let's have a look. We got to be getting close to curtain call when he's outing stuff like that. So obviously that's like the world press he was talking to there. And why wouldn't someone say in that press audience, why wouldn't someone say, and I don't know if they did, so let me know if you heard any of the questions from the press afterwards. I didn't listen that long, so I might be just shooting off my mouth here, but what I am curious about is why wouldn't someone stop and say, wait, what do you mean by central casting? Why did you say central casting? Right, and let them explain that. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, he's definitely putting stuff out there. Yeah, it's for the benefit of the normies for sure. I mean, a lot of us already know we're watching Central Casting, but they might not know. Oh my goodness. I feel like it really is. I'm thinking September, October. That's my September card, but that's also the Alliance card. And then this, I don't know why that just dropped into the cards, but maybe because the universe thinks we should know. I feel like that's when that big event's going to go down. That I don't know. I don't think it'll go down because of the Iranian strike that Trump did or said he did. I think that even already happened, by the way. And that guy even says it, like that 1776 United guy. He even says that everything we're seeing is likely already happened. So, and these are military guys in the know of the military. And I'm getting that with the cards. So I just want to, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just saying, I've been saying that for years. And it's almost always proved to be right. It's like, what? It's crazy. Cards are amazing. Okay, so we've got the Hermit here. I'm thinking September, October for that, like fall. Things go down in fall. Okay, but what he's just getting everybody ready and tuned up. So he's absolutely just planting the seeds of, you need to know you're watching Central Casting. So it's a calm, but it's sort of a subtle one. And it kind of gets in there with the normies back here somewhere. And then once they have an moment, all of that'll come forward and they'll be like, wait a sec, remember when he said this? And I remember that. And I couldn't figure it out why he did that. Yeah. He's planting and I don't believe it's him literally. It's whoever plays him. And they're having him. So somebody's writing his script. I believe that. And I think Trump, the real Trump, is involved, but he's way in the background with the really big alliance and, generals that would be the white hat military generals. He's working with those guys and they're somewhere safe. He's got 3 or 4 doubles. Okay, now let's look further into this NATO visit. Okay, so now another thing happened that's outrageous. Okay. So the head of NATO calls, they say the chief of NATO, he calls Trump daddy. Okay. In a really interesting offhand way, but is it a calm? Let's have a listen.
You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easy to stop them.
And then daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong, like every once in a while, you have to use a certain word. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easier to stop them.
And then daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
Yeah. So daddy has to use strong language. Of course, they're talking about the F-bomb that Trump dropped on national television. Okay. When he was being asked, about the situation in the Middle East, how they broke the ceasefire. And he was basically saying, because they're, idiots, basically. Anyway, F-bombed everybody. And then, he's kind of making a comment to that. But the guy says, daddy has to, basically use strong language when something like that happens. So it's all very interesting. Is it just the actor playing that chief of NATO has a great sense of humor, or is it a calm? That's what was the question. Let's have a look. Is it just good script writing? Okay. Is it just them having some fun? So we got the Judgment. Yeah, I think it's just them having some fun. I think it's just script. I think everybody was in on that. They knew what was that. Wasn't us. That wasn't just something he said off the cuff, and it wasn't per se a calm. It was actually a part of the script, and I feel like they did it to get everybody's attention on that, right? Oh my goodness, they got some good humor, those guys. Wow. Okay, these cards are brilliant. It looks like things are we're really getting on with this I can't wait to see the crescendo of this, everything that's been happening. And I'm not saying everything's over then, because we'll just be started. Once these governments come down officially and everybody knows, we're just getting started, you guys. We're going to have to clean up the mess and then go on and actually rebuild our world. So yeah, some big work, big things coming, but it's pretty exciting. And it feels like all of these guys were in on that So that was a script, and everybody was in on it, and it was part of the script. Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily a but it was part of the script. So the white hats are just having maybe even a little laugh on us or whatever, or laugh with us, maybe laugh with us. Okay, let's update on Ireland situation, because, crazy. Like, if you're on X and if you're watching my Telegram, I share a lot of things that are happening there, both Irelands. So there's the North and the South Ireland, and one of those Irelands is connected with the UK. So we'll ask specifically about the UK, but let's ask about Ireland and all of the situation. Are they finally going to, is like the facade going to drop, so all of these people can stop flooding in there? There's even gangs of fathers and brothers and divine masculine men. Maybe not all of them are divine masculine, but the intention is divine masculine, walking the streets at night, like patrolling, because women are so unsafe and people are so unsafe with all the illegal migrants and migration, and or just flooding. Like, it might not, maybe the government there doesn't say it's illegal, so we can't really call it that. We could say it's unprecedented amount of people being dropped off there with no documentation, and given money and places to stay and have more opportunities. And they're doing it on purpose. Like, this is all by design, you guys. This is a way to take down those countries. They've been doing it subtly for 20 years in all of Europe, but they're particularly focused right now in the really in your face in Ireland, it looks like, and also the parts of the UK. Okay, and they're doing it on purpose. So it shows you they've been doing this subtly for years, and nobody would have yelled about it, because they taught everybody to use woke language. They snuck in all of their woke agendas. And so all the government peoples were so busy being careful not to use the wrong pronouns or whatever they were doing, and tippy-toeing around everybody's feelings, that nobody could actually stand up and say, and nobody would stand up. They're all compromised anyway, deep state compromised. They can't stand up and say, we got to protect our own people here. This is ridiculous. Women are not safe. Children are not safe. Humans are not safe, but in particular women. Like the rape situation is disgusting, horrifying. And like, they just can't go anywhere. People follow them around. Like, there's so many video footage of it. It's just horrifying. Okay, so let's have a look. And if you say anything, like what they created was this monster of social media calling you a racist because you don't want to be unsafe in your own neighborhood. Tiny little neighborhoods that are being flooded with people that have no business being there, probably don't like being there. Who knows? Maybe they just got rounded up and put there. Do you know what I mean? They're using those people too. It's not even right. And mostly 30s men, 20s and 30-year-olds men, and 40s, and sort of like fighting age, they say. And without their families. Okay, so they're roaming around, they're lonely, and I'm not giving that as an excuse, I'm just saying. Okay, so adding to the complex situation. Okay, they got nothing really to do. They're not really, probably a lot of them don't speak the language, and they're not even into the culture. It has nothing to do with, they wanted to come there and bring their family there and become like part of the Irish culture. No, they're literally just plunked down there, and it's all an agenda. They're being used. The people that live in those communities are being used. It's the governments and the deep state agenda that's the issue, not the actual literal people. Okay, unless those people are perpetrating crimes. no matter who's doing that, that's their fault. But I'm just saying the whole situation just stinks to high heaven. Okay, so we're going to start with the Irish government and just look around. When can we see those guys taken out, taken at the knees? Because obviously they are now doing the walk of shame and making themselves really obvious that they're complete globalist scumbag sellouts. Okay, and that's why they're doing this. Their whole system has been taken over, and they've made it really in your face that it's deep state. Okay, and they did that on, I believe that's the White Hat Alliance, but all of those people are probably central casting as well, just so you know where I'm coming from with it. Okay, so it does make it extra complex. It's fascinating, but also really frustrating. Okay, so here we go. We've got the 8. So yeah, it's speeded up lately, and I believe that to be true, because I tell you, since June hit, like, first of all, Trump's dropped huge, really obvious social media posts that are, it's like he's not holding back. He's absolutely connected to Q, and really you can't deny it now. And he's absolutely like working for the White Hat Alliance and talking about central casting and talking about Obama, all roads lead to Obama. Like, those are the kind of things he's dropping on the daily. So I feel like that's really a sign it's speeded up. So things are going fast here. The demise is speeded up because the death cards, it's been a long, slow process here over the last 4 or 5 years, but I feel like the last even month has really speeded things up. Yeah, and they were firmly deep state before, so this was a big place for deep state operatives, which is why they're choosing Ireland to really show you what these guys are all about. The people have been deeply programmed, and part of the unprogramming is it's fascinating to watch where they finally stand up for their neighborhoods. And I'm not saying they're all doing it, but at least some Irish people are actually standing up and saying, no more are we going to be taken over and completely pushed out of our own place. Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of people are really upset and sad there, and I totally get it, right? It would be hard to live there, actually. You'd have to have your whole own bubble of reality just to get through it. All of us have those challenges, different ones, like Canada's got a different kind of challenge. We got Carney to deal with. Okay, but, and the migration things really, or like, people brought here without proper documentation and without like any kind of checks and balances on how many, and they're flooding. Like, if you go to the Vancouver area, it's literally huge portions of it are East Indian. It's fascinating. And then other portions of the inner city in particular are Chinese. So it is fascinating, and Chinese own a big portion of the properties. So a lot of properties and businesses are owned by the Chinese, but and probably East Indian at this point, but entire huge communities are literally all, you think you're in India when you're there. Yeah, so it's fascinating, and it's interesting. Okay, so here we've got 8 and the death card here. So yeah, it's absolutely coming, but first there's going to be like, before it absolutely ends, there's going to be a hardship. Okay, I feel like that's events or an event. Okay, and we've all been talking about these events or event. Okay, and it's a given that something's going to go down that finally turns everybody's eye on what's really going on. And like, we can spin it so many ways, and I've looked at it so many ways, but I feel like we're going to have to experience it firsthand, because even the universe thinks that's best for everybody. Okay, so absolutely things are going to get better, but first they're going to get a little worse. And that's just, that's everywhere. You guys, I'm thinking by early in the new year, things are a lot better, and your government's totally been outed. But it, like, this could, that could even be a Scorpio card, which would put it November. So things looking a lot better after the summer, let's say, and going into the fall, winter, and new year. Okay, and I think that's all of us, and I think it'll take time to like really, really get everybody on board with that. Let's look at UK now. Let's look at the UK, because the person that asked the question said Ireland and UK. So we're going to look at. Okay, let's have a look. Same kind of question, because their government's just absurd, like the absurdity with that abortion law. Like, and apparently that law's in a lot of places where you could actually have an abortion. How could they even call it that? Up to a day before your due date type thing. Like, that sounds satanic. That sounds like they're trying to take people's babies. That sounds like an agenda. And I think the whole pushing abortions to the max, I totally get. In occasions, there's very likely a need, or people feel there is a need. Okay, so I would never say never on that, just because there could be like really scary circumstances that could occur, like somebody gets raped and they become pregnant, and or the pregnancy is threatening the life of the mother. They might make the decision that they'd like to live. Maybe they have other children and they don't want to give their life up for their baby, that sort of thing. There's things that absolutely, but using it as birth control, I gotta say I'm not okay with that. I mean, I'm not saying I'll tell my friend that if she was, or whatever, if that happened. Like, it's not something I publicly talk about, because you can get absolutely massacred out there if you're. It's not that I'm an anti-abortionist, okay, and that's what I would get called, because I wouldn't say I was, but I would personally myself, I couldn't do that. I don't see any circumstance that I would get an abortion myself, and I never have, and I am not like I think spiritually there's something wrong with it, I believe, but that's my belief, and I wouldn't push that on somebody. And I've even supported my friends. Lots of people get abortions, and I've been a support system, but it doesn't mean I would do that, and I agree with it. You know what I'm saying? But what I am also saying is, then there's anything past like 3 months, like there's no excuse. You should know by then, and have already, if it was some big circumstance, you already would have dealt with it. You don't go all the way to a day before due date. Like anything past, like they should have a certain timeline and certain criteria that you have to meet before you can have one. That's just me, and I don't want to offend anyone, and I'm not trying to judge anyone. I'm just saying, in my soul, it doesn't feel right unless you take those things into consideration, right? And I think that humans are evolving to a place where they're going to learn to be using more responsible energy. Like, we're going to become more responsible beings, taking always, because this is always where I come from, responsibility for your actions. Okay, so always, like, if you engage in consensual, intimate relationships that could lead to pregnancy, like you need to be really careful and cautious so you don't get yourself in a compromised situation. And I know that there's lots of circumstances that doesn't allow. I get it. But I feel like we're all going to evolve eventually to, you know what? Let's have a different way to do this. Let's call a baby consciously and energetically, or absolutely spiritually block that energy and say, no, this is just, I'm having an intimate relationship with my partner, and I have no wish, universe, to have a pregnancy. I feel like we're going to get a conversation going with our higher selves where we can be more in control, where it's not willy-nilly, oops, you know what I mean? And if there is an oops, guess what? It's a meant to be. That's always how I viewed it anyway. Like, my both pregnancies were totally I didn't call them, either of them, consciously, but they were told to me in dreams that it was coming. Okay, so I have a more spiritual vision of it, but I know not everybody's in that spiritual sort of mindset. Yeah. Anyway, it's complicated, but I just can't fathom those kind of laws that would permit. Like, that sounds like they got a different agenda. That's my feeling about it. The agenda isn't for freedom for the woman to choose, her body autonomy. That's not what it's about. They made it look like that, so everybody screams about it, okay, and gets really upset about it if you're against it. But no, there's an agenda there, and it's about body parts. It's about the tissue. It's about stealing those live babies. Maybe they don't like. What did they strangle them when they come out? Like, it's the most disgusting thing I can't even fathom. So what are they really doing with late-term pregnancies? That's what I want to know, right? So it's a satanic cult out there, you guys. We got to ask the question, and we got to wonder why they're pushing stuff like that. Anyway, so let's look at UK. How did I get on that? Because the UK just announced in public, although a lot of places do it, so you need to know that you can have abortions even up to a day before your due date. That's why I got on that topic, okay? Sorry about the rant. Okay, so there we've got the 6. So yeah, oh good. UK is going to, their stuff's going down even before Ireland, guys. Yeah, they're demonic. You're going to know it's central casting even before you know in Ireland, okay? So that looks like it's already really largely outed. So your guys are going down, and you'll know that they've just been actors. And yeah, you're going to know that, I feel like, 5 weeks even. So watch for it, UK. Yeah, the UK is going to know. Wow. Okay. Now let's look at some housekeeping here. So all of the Beyond Mystic team is going on holidays. And that'll be July 1st. So there won't be any Beyond Mystic Rumble shows or Beyond Mystic, all our usual shows. Yeah, all the usual shows that I'm on with Jean-Claude won't be happening. The Thursday quick pick won't happen, that kind of thing, right? So all of the Beyond Mystic going to have a well-deserved 2-week break. Okay, but this is Tarot by Janine, my website. And what I'm going to do, how I'm going to handle it is, I do really need a break. Everybody needs a break. We all need a break. So what I'm going to do, I've planned lots of, I'm doing a big roundabout so I can visit my niece. She's a YouTuber too, the Thai Lake, I think it's called the Thai Lake Life, or I can't remember now. It's just, I've lost it in my mind. Somebody put it in the comments. Anyway, she does, they're kind of homesteading, 3 acres or something. And she does, like, they're doing rammed earth buildings and everything. I'm going to visit her, and I'm going to also visit my sister Jackie, and I'm also going to visit my dad, who's like 92 now, and maybe he's 93 this year. Anyway, he's in his 90s. So I'm going to visit him, and of course my son and daughter in Vancouver. So a bit of a big roundabout, right? And I will be checking in with little short what's in the news. I won't necessarily be asking for questions, but I'll be a couple of times a week at least, and maybe even more. I'll show up, and you'll get a notice that it'll probably be in, I think I'll put it in world news. Yeah, let's say that. Look for it in world news, but I'll also put it at everyone. When you get an at everyone notice, that's just the way the format works, right? Then it goes out to everybody. And I think we've got it going, so it goes out. Some people are saying they get 2 reports. That might be because I pin it after that. I'm thinking that might be what's happening, but I do need to pin it on certain pages so everyone can see it. But anyway, so you'll get a notice, and I'll just do a quick update on what's going on. And some of it might be personal, and some of it might be news if there's big news. And if there is really big world news, Jean-Claude and I will jump on, but it won't be like the studio here or even my other studio in Vancouver. It'll be like out of a hotel room or out of my sister's house or something, and I'll hold up cards. Okay, so I won't have anybody producing these videos. They'll just be old school, short and sweet, check-ins. Okay, and I'm planning to do it about 2 or 3 times a week anyway. So you won't get the usual reports for the 2 weeks. Okay, so hopefully everybody's gonna cut me slack on that one. I really do need the break. I just need a break in the routine. Okay, and I know we all do sometime. But love you guys. Take care. Sending you all ravens. The world's gone crazy, you guys. Okay, so let's have a look. We're looking at what the heck did he actually bomb? Did the Trump brand actually bomb 3 nuclear sites in Iran? Did that actually happen? We've got the death card, so that's interesting. And the Wheel of Fortune. So a soft yes, but it happened in the past. So something like that happened in the past, probably so they could get video footage, also have footage of the damage. Okay, so they did do it a small degree. So that's a small card. Take it down. So I don't think it was as big of an area. So they bombed an area in Iran, but it was in the past. And now they got footage of it. Okay, and we've got the death card. So it could have even been 6 months ago with this card. Okay, and we've got the Wheel of Fortune. So this looks like it's about something completely different this time, but they technically, so he can say and tell the truth that U.S. bombed this area. He can say that because they did. Technically, it was some kind of bomb fell there earlier, but take everything down from what he's saying. None of this looks like the Tower card should be here if it was really as bad as all that. Okay, so something different is happening. We got the Wheel of Fortune, the death card. This is taking us in a totally different direction than what it appears. So it appears like it's leading the U.S. into a war on the behalf of Israel. And everyone's yelling about that, of course, right? They're all like, okay, Trump's, puppeted by Israel, like a whole bunch of other U.S. Politicians have been, and in the past, presidents were actually absolutely owned by Israel. Okay, so that's long been, but I really don't think that's what this is about at all. It's taking us in a completely, and it also ends something. So him doing that is an ending, not a beginning. So he's not entering a war, he's ending it, okay, or ending the possibility. Maybe he's taking away the possibility for there to be a war there in any way, but it already happened in the past. That's the most important thing to remember. Now we've got the world, so it seems like we move on. Again, I'm getting that we're moving on sometime, I think in the next few days or weeks, into a totally different level. We're leveling up somewhere totally different, and it doesn't lead us into more of a war. It leads us into a whole different, totally different situation. Okay, so we've got the Page of Cups here. There's going to be a surprise that takes our attention, and the surprise is information. So information will surprise us that leads us into a totally different direction. And what I found fascinating was almost nobody was talking about him supposedly bombing a nuclear or 3 nuclear areas. And honestly, I don't believe there are nuclear capability. That's going to be my next question. Did Iran in the last year, so we'll talk about it in the past and up to the present. So in the last 12 months, did they achieve or get close to achieving nuclear capability? We're going to ask that. Let's just Iran, nuclear capability. Let's have a look. Is it even about that? That's my question. The world. So the world is we're on a whole nother level. Okay, I feel like that was changed in the past. So that already changed in the past. Okay, so see the soft yes? That's more of an emotional card. These two are emotional. The world ends something and takes it to a whole nother level. So I feel like it was already taken to a whole nother level. It was already changed in the past. it's more like innuendo and gossip that they had it. It's not in actuality. You know who's been talking about it for years was Netanyahu, or now the person that plays Netanyahu, he's also talking about it. Okay, but if there was a different Netanyahu in the past that they've just replaced, which that's my suspicion. Okay, because you saw the big picture of the very obvious guy wearing a mask that's pretending to be Netanyahu recently, and they made it so obvious they had the mask literally just hanging here. Look, I've got a crease there. Okay, but it's actually my neck. So I get it, creases, okay, but this was really obvious. This was like for reals. It was a mask. Anyway, it doesn't look like it was a long time ago that it's been changed. I believe that too. I'm even thinking 10 years ago with that Wheel of Fortune. Okay, so now this is an interesting one. What is the relationship between these two guys here, Netanyahu, or the person playing him, okay, and Trump? What actually is going on? Are these two working on the same side? Are they against each other? Are they really like each other's enemies? Or does Trump work for him? We're going to go Trump, because a lot of people think Trump works for Israel now after that, what happened this weekend. And this is going to be the Israeli leader here and Israel itself. And I'm not talking about the good people that live there. I'm more, and some of them aren't good, I'm sure, but there's good and bad people everywhere. I'm talking about the government and the overlords of, or who've been the overlords of, like all of us have had overlords in all our governments. So the bad government system, okay, even if it's now white hat ruled, okay, which I believe it is. So it's complicated. Talking about this stuff, you have to really unpack a bunch of stuff, okay, because there's about 4 layers of lies on it, 4 layers of hidden truths. So it's just really complex. So you guys have to forgive me. Like I sound like a broken record on this, the understanding that all of this is a huge theater and psyop. It's more so than ever before. It's actually ramped up to unbelievable levels of crazy right now. But let's have a look. We're looking at what's between these two guys. Are they all in a big theater production? Does one lord over the other? That sort of thing. That's what this one will be. Trump. And this will be Netanyahu, or the person playing Trump and the person playing Netanyahu. We'll do it like that. Past, present. So this present one will be what's between them in the near future. Where does it go from here? Let's have a look. Trump, Netanyahu, Trump. So we've got the 4 of Cups. So presenting something. There's a hesitance to this, and an emotional pulling in. Archetypally, that person would be emotionally unavailable. Interesting. And then there's the 3 of Wands here. Okay, so looking out in new territory. Well, we'll have to see what's underneath these to really understand those 2 cards. Okay, they have played together on the same team in the past, because this card here, we've got the Lovers, and so they've made agreements, shook hands, and played nice in the sandbox in the past. Okay, but now what appears to be between them, and this could be just for appearances because this is in the public eye, and it doesn't really look like these 2 cards, is this big fight between them, right? Temporary setbacks, that's the warring card. It'll get worse before it gets better. This card says it could get to another crescendo where they feel like they're really at odds. Doesn't go all the way though, because that would be a 10. That's how it'll play out in the public. Okay, so this is interesting. Here's what, so detachment, here's Trump, detached, but really in charge. Okay, so unless this is a major arcana that even is bigger than this guy, so this is a court card it's actually a major. It's one of the biggest heavy hitters for power. So far, Trump looks like he's more powerful. So unless this is the Hierophant, the devil, like in which case maybe they got some kind of power over Trump. Okay, but not too many people could outpower the emperor. So let's have a look. What do we got? No, he's got a minor arcana. So Trump's definitely in charge. So that means to me, the actor playing Trump, so that puts him at White Hat Alliance, is in charge of Netanyahu. Netanyahu, the actor playing him, stays safe and from a safe distance. So he probably only shows up for photo ops and isn't really doing any of the work you think you see him running the country. He's not really. He's safely somewhere. He could even be doing the photo ops he does from a whole different place. Okay, so that this is theater, you guys. You're watching theater. Whatever they say is going on between these two guys. Oh, Trump's not owned by him. Okay. In fact, he's not even running the country, Netanyahu. Whoever this guy is, this guy playing him, he's not even involved. He's more like doing photo ops from a distance. Somebody's taking care of his tweeting and Xing or whatever. Or I guess X is Twitter. So wherever he's sharing information and news information, it looks like it's all been created. It's creatively created from a distance. He's not even in Israel. So that's fascinating. Okay, so yeah, this is huge amounts of fear porn generated. I guess somebody asked, is it leading up to the world lockdowns and the EBS and everything? That almost looks like it is to me. I would say it is. It's leading up to something way bigger anyway, some kind of a really big takedown. It's leading up to a really big takedown, that's for sure, of these governments anyway. Wow. Okay. And also it's leading up to something financial when she shows up. So there's some big financial change. So I think a lot of this isn't even about war. I think a lot of this is teaching and educating, okay, and showing us how they do false flags, how they do psyops, and how they fooled us, and how wars are really just big political moves, okay, and they're usually about money. And that's what this looks like. They're going to show you, and it's going to all come around to, it's going to be about financial system and monies. It's not really anything that they're showing you is happening. Those two are actors. Okay. Trump's squarely working with the guy playing Trump is White Hat Alliance. And that's who's yanking his chain. Okay. So even if real Trump's back there somewhere, doing some of this, I feel like White Hat Alliance has even control over what Trump does or what he appears to do. Okay. So the flags raised by Trump. Okay, so 2 flags. Now, I did talk about this on the public. So if this is a repeat, it's probably because you watched the Rumble public BTN. I talked about this. There were 2 flags raised on the lawns of, and I think it was the south and north, but I'm not sure. Anyway, both on the lawn in different areas in the White House. Okay, so in the comments, I'm sure somebody will tell us exactly where they were raised. Trump paid for, and he let everybody know he out of pocket paid for the poles themselves and the flags. And of course, there's a lot of theories about this. It's interesting. He's wearing that yellow tie in this one, and lots of people have comms about the color ties he wears. I wonder if he's reclaiming DC, he's taking it out of the idea of being separate, just like the Vatican and just like London. Is he taking it out of that, and or at least announcing that it's been made part of the Republic again? Because I think that happened quite a while ago that they took it back. And this is, remember, they're doing all of this stuff in retrospect. Okay, so a lot of this stuff's been done, just the public are getting let in on it now. Okay, so let's have a look at, and another weird thing about the flags. Trump had them made. So he's claiming back the White House is what I think he's doing. And that's what I got also when I looked at it. But I'm going to look for this audience because a lot of people count the stars and they've got everywhere from 54 stars to, some people say 50 and other people say 52. So I don't know if there's more stars, because it's a flapping flag, so it's kind of hard to to try to count them. So if someone thinks they, because there's 3 different takes on how many stars, I'm not gonna assume there's more than 50, but I'm not going to assume there isn't either. So I'm just going to leave it there, because I tried to count it and I could not get a firm count on them. But anyway, that's an interesting thing to note, and just a rabbit hole to go down on your own. I'm not going to look at that right now. What I'm looking at is, what the heck, why did Trump put these 2 flag poles up and new flags on them? Okay, and let's see if I get the same thing I got on the BTN. So it was definitely a strategy. The Empress. So interesting. The Empress will come up a lot around Trump. I have a feeling it's got something to do with the actual original Trump, I feel. And when I look at, when I did a deep dive on him, he was actually created, I feel like, and maybe in a way that wasn't just a man and a woman have intimate relations, make a baby, then there's a baby birthed. I don't think it was like that. I think they took some DNA and created Trump and added some, he's a hybrid. Okay, so to even be able to do what he's been doing, I believe he's a hybrid. And I got that when I did a deep dive with Jean-Claude on it. I also got that Melania is also a hybrid. And they made an agreement to work together. I don't think it's a love match like lots of people think. Like, I energetically can read real, actual love between 2 people. And I think they're loving of each other and care for each other, but I don't get it in any way a love match. I get it more a business arrangement. And I wouldn't go as far as say she handles them or whatever, but they kind of work together and need each other. Okay, so let's have a look at, but they're both really unique beings, and I don't think they're entirely human. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. And I'm pretty sure you can throw Baron in that mix too. Okay, let's have a look at, so the flags. So it's a strategy, understanding the Empress, looking forward to the Empress. She's about abundance, looking forward to a more abundant time in the US. I mean, I guess if they take it out of deep state control, they definitely did it in the past. Whatever they did, it's one of the things they did to change the dynamic and the energy. They're taking it in a totally new direction. They did it very strategically. And somehow the financial system's involved in this too. Would make sense though if they're taking it back. The corporation is who's running that money scam that just prints money and gives it to the government to spend, making the money really eventually, you always run into where the money's going to be worthless if that's all you're doing is printing money. Okay, so because you got nothing to base it on. And I feel like they're changing that. And so it's not only calming and or signaling that they've taken back the place and taken it into new territory. Might even be different than going back to the Republic, because the card says they're looking forward to new territory. So it's a whole new entity. I don't even think it's exactly the Republic again. I feel like that was flawed too, or it would have maybe withstood all of this deep state takeover. I feel like they're taking it and tweaking even that. I don't think it's just as simple as they're taking back the Republic. I mean, going backwards, back into history, the history was riddled in deep state activity. I don't think that would be the way to do it. They're going forward into the age of Aquarius, and things are going to be different, although they may resemble more towards the Republic because they're going to use the Constitution and really bring it forth front. But I feel like they're going forward into a whole new way of doing things, and it'll be more abundant. And here's the outcome here. So there's going to be a lot of stress before it actually comes to pass. We're going to see the war come out in the open. We're going to see, get a body count on how many people actually died of the vax and the shots and all the things they've been doing to us. I feel like that has to get done first before you'll really literally know what they did there. So we're just about to head into a really stressful time. So that makes sense. We got to get through this most stressful time to get to the good stuff. Okay. And part of that stressful time, I think it's going to involve where the EBS happens, where they actually come out and tell us this has all been a big theater. Like, it needs to be publicly proclaimed. Also, where they actually show us that they've been having tribunals all along. Like, all of that's going to be really stressful and troubling for people, because they'll have to face that we've been in a war and a lot of people already died. Most of the casualties coming from vaxes and throughout history. Turns out a lot of these vaxes have been literally kill shots throughout history, and even creating and causing cancer and AIDS. Okay, so they're creating these things to actually take out our immune system. I feel like we got to learn all of those things first before we get to know exactly what they did with the flags. But there you go. So they're going to be able to point back to these actions and say, see, we did that, we did that, we did that properly. Like, they're dotting their I's and crossing their T's with these new rituals put in place. That's what I think, undoing some of the old rituals that were literally demonic. Okay, sleeper cells in the U.S. So a lot of people are worried that because of that supposed apparent U.S. bombing of and maybe they did bomb, but certainly wasn't nuclear what they were bombing, because you'd have fallout. Hello. Also, the whole world would be freaking out about it 10,000 times more than they are now. Yeah, it's too weird for me. It's just like, okay, like, shouldn't that be the biggest, splashiest news and all anyone's talking about? That Trump just basically entered the Middle East war by bombing their nuke sites. Like, if they in fact had, well, which they didn't, it looks like. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. Things are so weird. Sleeper cells. So a lot of people, and this is another thing, and this has been going on within the truther world. It is a problem for me when I hear that truthers get on that bandwagon, that there's all of these people getting shipped into all of these countries. And I get that, the illegal migration of people, and they're just plunking them off in places like Ireland and all over the UK. And, they've been doing that for 20 years, but it's gotten to a crazy crescendo. But of course, now they're showing us they've been also doing it in the US and Canada. They're doing it all over the world, right? It's just a huge agenda. It's a huge takedown, like, the population agenda, and replace them with people maybe they think they can control more. That was the original agenda. But now I feel like the White Hat Alliance is showing us that agenda. I mean, they were in charge of what we thought was we didn't think, but the Biden regime, right? So if they were in charge of that, it was the White Hat Alliance that was allowing that to happen. Okay, think about that. Okay, so they must have had a reason. That's a wake-up call. I feel like they did that. They even exaggerated and put stories out there, really putting it in your face that this was happening, right? Okay, so because if it was really being done by the deep state, they do it a lot more subtly. Like, they do it like how they've been doing it in Europe, where they just subtly raise the amount of people coming in every year. And they wouldn't do it so obviously by putting them in hotels and kicking out residents. And like, they wouldn't. They're sneakier than that, you guys. Okay, so they'd sneak it up on you over 20 years. They wouldn't do it sort of in the last year. Like, that's a White Hat Alliance psyop that gets everyone's eyes on something that's a problem and been a problem for years. Okay, so I don't know if you guys were following that, but let me know in the comments what you think about what I just said there. So sleeper cells. So what people mean by that is they're going to all of a sudden wake up and or get the phone call to start wreaking havoc here. So they've placed all of these people, maybe Iranians, and or Middle Eastern people, and fighting age men, and they don't forget they've been showing nonstop pictures of fighting age men getting dropped off in boatloads or getting off in boatloads all over Europe and etc. And also in the U.S. busloads of them. Okay, so they did that on purpose. Okay, so they've been showing you something, and now they're scaring you that something's going to turn into this like civil unrest, and they're going to start taking your homes, and they're doing all of these things, just piling up the stress. It's just fascinating. I can't fathom if you actually bought into all of that fear. How could you even live? Like, how could you? I couldn't even stomach all of that fear. It seems so absurd. But anyway, let's have a look. How are you guys managing it, by the way? Just let me know in the comments, because I'm literally using humor and lots of nature time. And petting the cat and hanging out with Cedric the dog. I mean, that's my only way to thank goodness I live in the Haida Gwaii where there's lots of nature. I couldn't fathom being in a city right now. Let me know how the city dwellers are handling it, okay? Yeah, we should all give ourselves a big pat on the back to even make it through June. Like, June has been definitely the most challenging for me, I gotta say, through this whole situation. So here's the potential sleeper cells waking up and causing total like civil war and stuff, right? And coming after your houses, and they're already coming after all the women in Europe. Like I bet they're exaggerating some of those stories, but they're based in what was actually already happening. So it is true, but I feel like they're really putting a spotlight on them on purpose. And of course, because you got to remember that if it's mainstream news telling you, and I believe the mainstream news, even in Europe, is actually operated by white hats at this point. So even though they're operating with the old formula, okay, and appears that they're totally just spreading fear porn and everything, they're doing it on purpose to show you just how these guys do things, right? So if they're focusing on this person from this culture is doing this thing and they do it over and over and over, they're doing it on purpose to get a reaction out of people. And I feel like it's now the White Hat Alliance doing that to try to wake up the sleepy Europeans that have been just bending over and letting this happen, right? It's like, it's unbelievable to me that it even got this far, because everyone's been taught to be so woke and so nice and so polite about everything. That was an agenda. Now you can see why they did that. Okay, so let's see. We've got 5. We've got the 5 of Swords there. We've got the Wheel of Fortune there, and we're talking about the sleeper cells. Okay, there's going to be some uprising. You bet there's going to be some. Okay, but for the most part, I get no. So I don't get a huge civil war or really huge problem with sleeper cells. I get, yeah, you're going to see it intermittently for sure. 5s are temporary setbacks. There's going to be some, but things will go a totally different direction all of a sudden, and so it feels like they're going to hit us with something altogether different, or maybe the universe is going to bring in an aspect of a real different, because this feels like otherworldly alliance. Maybe we'll finally get that alien glimpse, or fake alien invasion or something, but something's about to go off here, maybe in the next 2 weeks, looking at that feels planned, because we've got this 3 of everybody will be in on it who's sort of showing us this thing. Some new show is coming, and it feels like it might have something to do with it, or use at least advanced technology to pull it off. So here comes those events, right? Like, we've had some events, but I feel like what happened this weekend was like an event, because it was like if anyone really bought that he just blew up 3 nuclear sites, like, tell me in the comments how that could be true. Explain that to me, that there's no radiation and no civilians were harmed. Okay, explain that. All right. Wow. Okay, I think I got one more here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to look at governments, Egypt and Turkey. Are they white hat? Are they white hat? Are they deep state still? And we're going to start with the government of Egypt. Let's start with Egypt. Somebody was saying, yeah, in the comments that I talk a lot about Europe, but like, there are thousands and thousands of places I could talk about. I get that. And I'm not meaning to leave people out in any way. But anyway, let's have a look at the government in Egypt. But I have said, and I've said it for years, that I believe about, well, probably 99% or maybe every single government, like big governments, big world governments, are capitulated. Okay, that happened in 2017. So look up the capitulation tour and or the final tour that Trump took, or not even the final. It was the very first tour he took as when he was first voted in as president of the U.S. So I think he actually went on that tour in 2017. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, guys, but I think it was 2017. And he went to all of these places and he capitulated all of these. He capitulated the WHO. He capitulated the NATO. He capitulated like a whole bunch of these big organizations. The world, like the WEF. He capitulated them. He went to their meetings and he shut them down, apparently. And there's all kinds of really interesting comms in that. I think they call it the World Tour or Trump's World Tour or the Timeline Tour. That's it. Okay, so look that up. Probably you'll find it on YouTube or Rumble. I'm sure somebody share it in the comments if you guys have a link, if somebody has a link. Yeah, the Timeline Tour, Trump's Timeline Tour, where he capitulated even the royal family. And this was back in 2017. And we just didn't know. So a lot of these things we're seeing now that they're nodding to and sort of playing out almost like a movie and using movie scripts to do it. Okay, that's a big clue right there. They're using a movie script. Okay, so they're playing them out to show you how we got to where we are, but it's not actually literally what's actually happening. So yeah, it's just unbelievable. But here's Egyptian government. Are they also capitulated, and or are they still deep state? I think it's part and part. Okay, I think they're largely, but they've left some players in there that are deep state, probably to look authentic, right? So some people don't even realize maybe that they're actually, or they're doing the walk of shame. Maybe they just left them in there to do the walk of shame, but they're in an undercover way. They are a capitulated government being run by the white hats. So, but they're still doing things. They're probably doing what all of these other places are doing, like what's happening in Canada with Carney. Okay, they're absolutely showing you what these people are really all about. They're making their moves so obvious, and that's likely what's going on in Egypt, according to my cards. Okay, so it'll be maybe till the end of July, I feel like, before you get a real glimpse behind that and see that they're capitulated, like for the general population. Okay, and let's look at Turkey. Also capitulated. Yeah, and some didn't go down easily. Some of the players there fought it, right? But they've already taken some off to tribunals with that King of Swords there. Yeah, so they're going to let that play out as well. So similar to what's going on in Egypt, they're going to let this play out, and eventually everyone will know because it looks like the good military, so that's the white hat military, is going to step out in front. But it could take till, I'm thinking for that, I feel like we're looking at November. But that's when the biggest spikes are. Or maybe it's October, September, October, November. I'm slanting more towards maybe the end of October, early November. Because when you look at that chart of cliffs, yeah, I think leading up to it, there's going to be some big reveals. But when it's literally like now almost everybody, because there's going to be people that just resist knowing. But I feel like that will happen before November. And some of that really big spike that Cliff was getting, emotional spikes in November, there's the biggest ones then. I feel like that might even be joy or maybe just relief on the part of the truthers when finally other people know what we know. That might be wishful thinking on my part, but I'm going to stick to that vision. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, and take care. Sending you all Raven. That's interesting. We've got the Page of Wands. So they have a plan, so that's a soft yes, at invading what? Deep state. So not necessarily invading Europe, but invading anybody who's still tied to deep state, Khazarian mafia, the dark cult. Okay, so if your country is heavily invested in that bunch still, it's not a big yes, that's a soft yes, but it's a thing, it's a potential. Here we go. Yeah, it's absolutely a potential. I'm going to use Dusty here. See the Four of Cups there? So the Four of Cups is they're also using the idea that they're going to invade. And they're entertaining you, like, believe it or not, and also keeping your eyes focused on that while all of these other things. I feel like what Russia's doing is cleaning up. They're cleaning up Khazarian mafia or like you could say Nazis, because that is the Khazarian mafia. They are Nazis. They're all those bad things that have throughout history killed millions of people. That's been the Khazarian mafia, okay, under the guise of different things. But they're the Khazars, so like really, really minions of the dark cult. Anyway, so they're using the idea that Russia's going to invade. So this is white hat operation here. White hat and alliance operation, keeping you focused on that potential. Meanwhile, what they're really doing is cleaning up places like, we know they've been cleaning up Ukraine, because it's absolutely still run by the deep state, or was. Okay, I feel like they're getting close to being finished, that, believe it or not. And I even think a lot of the cleanup was done years ago. So a lot of things we see are actually footage from a long time ago and or stories from a long time ago. Yeah, so it's on the way to being done here. We've got the King of Pentacles, near future outcome. They're not looking even remotely at going after Europe. Absolutely not. In fact, this card tells me Russia is a white hat op. So Russia and the Russian leader, they all work with the white hats. Whoever that leader is, because I don't think it's the original Putin. Okay, so like I've been talking about this for years, that original Putin was likely switched out 12 years ago. Right about, look up the time his wife divorced him. He'd been missing for weeks, I think it was, or was it days? I can't remember. Quite a few days, if it was days. And then all of a sudden he showed up with not a very good excuse for why the leader of Russia was missing for days. And his wife left him not too far after that. And he started looking different. So I think they replaced him, and I think he's been working undercover with the White Hats ever since. So, anyways, no plans to invade Russia, you guys. This is all a White Hat op, and all of those stories are just to keep everybody occupied and focused while they do the real cleanup. All over the place, but most specifically in the Ukraine. Okay, so what else do we have? How often do we see the real Donald Trump? Okay, this guy is definitely an actor. Okay, this is the guy they mainly trot out. Okay, and he's an actor. See if we can get any more real estate there. And I can't do that because there's a big stain from my glass, but I guess I'll just leave it. I'm glad you guys put up with me. Okay, let's have a look at Donald Trump. How often do we see the real guy? That's an actor. There's another actor. So that guy even looks like, who does that guy look? Let me know in the comments who you think that guy looks like. Interesting. Yeah, it's definitely not the real guy either. So those two are different that you just saw. Fascinating. And then there's this really chubby one who's, not as good looking as that one. That guy's the one always playing golf, and he never wears a jacket. He always just wears a shirt. That's the golfing. And he's often seen at Mar-a-Lago as well, Mar-a-Lago. And that guy's not real Donald Trump either. But every once in a while, we do get a glimpse. 210, though, it's been a really long time. Okay, it's been a really long time since we saw the last time we saw him. We've got the 5 of Cups there. We've got the Queen of Cups there. I think there's a lot of potential for him to get taken out if he's seen in public. We've got the 6. Oh, we could see him again very intermittently, almost never. And we could see him by the end of June again. Some situation could bring him out in the end of June, but it's almost never, you guys. 210s like that, it's almost never. You're never seeing him. Yeah, there's the golfing one. That guy's not either of those other two. And he's definitely not the real guy. Okay, so I can't even remember literally what does the real Donald Trump look like. Anyway, but yeah, he's safe. He's safe and working in the back. Okay, let's see. Carl Starmer. So the PM of the UK, he was forced to, but he makes it look like, all of a sudden he's going to do the right thing and investigate the rape gangs, and they're calling them grooming gangs. Okay, they're rape gangs that have been going on for many years in the UK, and gangs of various different gangs, often Indian gangs, Indian men, and or Pakistani men, and or Middle Eastern men. Okay, having households of them living together, and then bringing in young women and underaged women, usually kind of maybe runaways, maybe vulnerable. They pick off the vulnerable ones, maybe the ones in low income situations, or they fool them into coming, and they get them as basically sex slaves. But they're calling it grooming gangs. Well, it's not grooming gangs, you guys. These people are held captive in homes with several men living in the household, and they're raped on the regular. Okay, so that in no way is it a grooming gang. Okay, so they're not even calling it the right thing yet, but at least they're forced to investigate. So he's doing the right thing and investigating it. Okay, so what we want to know is, does that lead to outing him as one of these people? Because he's a groomer, raper. Okay, he's a pedo. You better believe it. And he's likely people have even connected him to Jimmy Savile, possibly even related to Jimmy Savile. Some people even say Jimmy Savile's donated sperm to make that creep, Starmer. So all kinds of things. Things are so crazy in the world. That could be true. Stuff like that could be true. Like it's a wild world we're living in, people. Okay, so let's have a look at him doing this. I believe the guy you're seeing that we're calling Starmer is a capitulated person and or possibly even an actor or a mask-wearing actor. And they're acting on behalf at this point of the White Hat Alliance. And I think the real Starmer was rounded up quite some time ago. I don't think they'd leave a guy that dangerous kicking around. I think this guy's step in. Okay. And regardless, they're using Carl Starmer's brand. Okay. And they're doing this all over the world with all the leaders. Okay. I've been saying it for years, and I'm just going to remind you that that's what I think. Okay. So let's look at, is this going to lead to the outing of the real Starmer and his real misdeeds and arrests of other people? Are these investigations going to lead to that? That's what the question was. Okay, 2 more 10s again. Wow, with the 10s. We're getting really close to the end when you see that many 10s. Okay, so there's certainly been things hidden. I just don't have the heart to kick them out. You know what I'm saying? There's been things hidden for a really long time. So they're giving people time to come to the realization, okay, that, what's really been going on. So using these guys and having them out themselves. Basically, they're doing walks of shame, all of these leaders, fake leaders. They're doing walks of shame. I don't think it's going to, though. There's a soft yes in the middle. So in a way, but I feel like he's already been rounded up. So it doesn't lead to his roundup because he's already been rounded up. It's more just exposing these guys and letting people know. This is more about educating the public, and that might disappoint people, and less about actual roundups happening because of it. Okay, so I'm going to say no to that, even though in a way in the public eye, you might, like, information will come out about, like, it'll circulate more information about the misdeeds of Starmer himself. Okay, and lots of people have been circulating information about this guy. So I feel like it just gives it more time and also eyeballs on what's actually been going on. But I don't think it directly leads to big arrests and the takedown of Starmer. Other things are going to take him down. I mean, but technically he's been taken down. Okay, so they got time because they already got these guys in Gitmo, and there's a big place under Greenland. They hold them, and they've got these holding places where they're, doing military tribunals. Every time I look at it with the cards, that's what I get, guys. Just saying. Okay, so let's have a look at, there was an official swearing in of the military. And of course, when they first joined, they likely go through that. But for some reason, Trump led the military on a verbal, and everybody repeated after him. So it was like considered an official swearing in of the military again. Okay. And why is that? Some people say it's because they're officially taking over buildings like the Fed, and the military are being handed over power. I believe they've been kind of like the whole time fake Biden was running around. It was really the military in control. You guys know what Jean-Claude and I've been saying for years. So to me, it's like, why would they do this official swearing in? Is this just soft exposure, getting everybody to look into these things? What's the reason for that? It's definitely something to get people looking at something, right? Because this card says, look over here. While you're busy looking over here, maybe look into this. And I feel like it gets everybody looking back at the military. What role are they really playing? what are they really? Trump's really in charge of them. Why would Trump lead the swearing in? That's interesting. That might be a big comm that he's in charge of the military. White Hat Alliance Trump brand is in charge of the military. Okay, near future, we've got that Queen of Cups, because everybody's so obsessed about all of these other things. I feel like it was to get people's attention and to like a wake-up call. This is a wake-up call. So him doing that wasn't necessarily to, they already have a lot of, I think the military already have been in charge. And then I feel like Trump was leading them all the way through the last 4 years. And now the White Hat Alliance and Trump brand. And now I feel like this was just a wake up to get people going down those rabbit holes and looking into it and recirculating everything we know about that. Probably a lot of people recirculated, Derek Johnson's info. He's been talking about this for years, as well as all the Q posts and etc. Like it gets everybody, back on the horse, circulating all of this stuff. So that was what that was about, kind of reminding us who's been really in charge. That's what I think it was more about that. Okay, let's have a look at travel. So some people are wanting to know about travel. And I'm not going to look at specific places. I'm going to do 2 questions on it. And one will be coming from like traveling. Okay, let's say this, traveling in Europe or from Europe to North America. How is that looking for the next 3 months? So we're going to go June, July, and August. How's that going to look for people generally? Is there something we need to know about that? And then we'll look at it going the other way. There. That's the travel card. That's the devil. So that's interesting. And the 8. Okay, you're going to really need to use your intuition, you guys. There does look like pockets of time when you might not want to. Looks like there could be holdups. There could be situations that make it, and of course, destination. So really look into the destination you're trying to go to. Let's move that over. Yeah, there's going to be some events here, it looks like. And now this is jumping us into September. Looks like it's definitely not a good time to travel. Ooh, so that's interesting. That's my September card. Whoop. And see that? Yeah, we're going to have military on the streets in some places. Some of those time periods we're looking at and places we're looking at. So I feel like, yeah, really check into your instincts, intuition, and look into truther news, in particular trusted truther news, just to really get a good handle on it. I don't think it's an across the board no, but it's definitely going to be tricky going forward. That's Europe, within Europe, and coming from Europe to North America. Now let's look at North America, within North America travel, and then going to Europe, North America. Get us a little more real estate there. Okay, that's a little better. That's a little better. There could be a lot of fear porn in these areas where it looks bad, but in fact, it's actually better on this side of the pond. So again, though, use your instincts and intuition, okay? And really look into where exactly your destination is, and maybe use your tools if you have tools. So in other words, pendulum, muscle testing, all the kind of tools we've talked about for years. Tarot, of course, if you've studied it, your medicine words, all your tools to make sure that your particular travel and your mode of travel is going to be. But this looks better than the other way. So European travel looks a little more difficult than North American. And it feels like North Americans a little better, but lots of fear porn around those months we just talked about, where things will be said to be happening, but they may not be happening quite the way. For instance, everything that was happening this weekend, okay, and all those LA riots, okay, a whole bunch of people filmed the very areas they were saying there was riots going on. And by the way, those were local LAers, okay, and there's you can find those videos if they're still up on YouTube. I don't know, Rumble, but they've been shared on social medias, and a lot of the places there might have been isolated, protests / riots, okay, but I feel like they were orchestrated, okay, right from the get-go, even filmed from different angles to make them look bigger. And I don't think they were as widespread as they were saying. Also, that no kings just fizzled right out. Okay, just like I said it would. And that was just a big psyop, okay, because a lot of the people supposedly who organized that are probably in Gitmo. Okay, so that's obviously a white hat op. And it was showing you just that those guys aren't the kings of Hollywood anymore or entertainment. They're in fact deep state puppets, pedophiles, and or sold out, like sold their soul to the devil types. Maybe that was the nod for the no kings. But anyway, regardless, I feel like just watch for the big psyop stuff, because you'll see it all summer. I'm sure we're going to see it for the next 3 months, heavy. Okay, so let's have a look at Israel and Iran conflict. So again, I've been getting, so I looked at this even on, so if you haven't seen the public version of Beyond the News, Thursdays, we run it Thursdays at 8 Eastern. It's on Rumble, on the Jean-Claude at Beyond Mystic Rumble channel. You definitely want to be checking that channel out and getting yourself subscribed there, because I do a really good news program with Jean-Claude. And I prefer to talk about things like the Middle East with Jean-Claude, because he just knows more about politically what's been going on there for years. And, like I could really misspeak even if I'm getting something, but I'm not understanding the deeper situation there. So I like to be a little careful around questions about these big supposed war things. But I'm going to tell you what I've been getting when I was with him on the show there, that public show. It's for everybody and free to everybody. That show, I was getting, like we looked at it Thursday, that all of this has likely already happened. Okay. So even though you're seeing footage, don't forget that when when that situation happened in Iran on what date was that? The 7th, but I can't remember what month. I can't remember what month that was. Was it March 7th? Anyway, when that big strike happened, supposedly from Hamas. Okay. All of that was orchestrated actually by the Israelis. Okay. So there's almost nothing you can believe that's happening in the Middle East that's actually happening. And that's what I've been getting. And it might sound crazy, but I'm just saying, okay, that's what I get constantly in the cards. So concerns about it. Yes, there's concerns of it, like it's concerning, okay, but every single time they've had the ramp up to the Third World War and it's imminent nuclear, okay, it never happens. And I honestly don't think it will. I honestly don't. I don't even get that there's nuclear capability in these places. I just don't get it. I'm not seeing it. Okay, so I'll just say that again. Okay, and I've been saying it for years. Okay, so it's why I don't get super excited about all of the ramp up about the Middle East. Okay, so now I'm going to look at what's really Israel. Who are they being in this conflict? Okay, or created I think it already got sorted out over there, and I think there already was this. I think the footage is from the past. I also believe some of the footage is somehow created. And maybe they are bombing some places, but maybe not the ones they say they're bombing, right? So if you're on the ground in Israel, on the ground in Iran, please chime in. Okay, because I want to know if I'm wrong about that. I want to know. Okay, so chime in and tell us what you're getting. Okay, because if you're just hearing things on the news, that we can't trust any of that. Okay, and we're seeing this footage. And remember, when the news was reporting all kinds of footage in the past, it turned out to be actually taken from a really popular video game, and everybody recognized it who played the game. You know what I mean? We have to be really careful. That's when the supposed Ukraine war first started. Okay, so that's how crazy this situation is. You can't believe anything that the news is saying, and a lot of truthers. There's a whole lot of fake news with the truthers circulating as well. Okay, so I'm just saying, let's have a look. It's gotten ramped up to serious fake news situation. But I'm going to look at the cards again, and then we're going to let it rest for a while on the war situation. Okay, so that's Iran. I wanted that one to be Iran. Okay, so they're believing that they might have nuclear. I don't think so with that card. That card's like, it's a temporary setback. So there's something going on, but it's nothing like you could consider literally war. Okay, so it's a 5. It's not a major arcana. Here's Israel. Okay, that's a 6 of Pentacles. Things will sort themselves out. I feel like they're actually going to get this into an agreement. So it's nothing like they're saying. Something could be going on, though, but take it down quite a few notches. Okay, quite a few notches. I also get a lot of the footage is from 3 or 4 months ago. So that's interesting. And now we got a big ace. So the public believe and see it. They think it's real. So they got the visuals somehow. They got the smoke, the visuals. It looks like there's these airstrikes. Okay. Interesting that they have these film crews filming them. Very interesting that they happen to know where to set their film and get the footage from. It's really interesting. Now we've got the 6. So we're going to see this move past this supposed war situation or close to war situation. We're going to see that get worked out once again, like we've been seeing. Okay. But nothing's as big as they're saying it is. And I'll just say that. Again. Hey, Dusty. Dusty's got quite the duster tail. Yeah. So I'm just going to repeat that. And I'm not saying nothing's going on, but I'm saying it's not what it appears. Okay, so keeping that in mind going forward, that there's reasons why they're putting these things out there, and they're needing to do these wake-up calls. These are big psyop wake-up calls. And it's getting tiresome, but I guess they think it's working. So yeah, I'm not going to be trying to tell the White Hat Alliance what to do, I guess. Although I can go, what are they doing? Anyway, thank you so much.
Hiện tại Lưu Cần bại rồi, Lý Đông Dương lui rồi, Dương Lăng ẩn giật, vừa hay là thời cơ tốt để cái cây tiểu Bạch Dương hơn 40 tuổi như gã trưởng thành. Nếu lôi kéo hai lão đồng sự có mối giao hảo tốt, năng lực làm việc và địa vị danh vọng thua xa gã vào trong trung tâm quyền lực, thế thì gã sẽ trở thành đệ nhất đương triều. Dương Lăng ngẫm nghĩ một chút lại hỏi, thế theo Lý đại học sĩ, Vương Hoa, Dương Nhất Thành, hai người này thì ai là người thích hợp chấp quản lại bộ hơn? Lý Đông Dương lộ vẻ vui mừng, biết Dương Lăng đã có quyết định, liền tự khắc nói, đương nhiên là Dương Nhất Thành. Dương Lăng gật đầu, lại hỏi, thế còn ti chức ti lễ thái giám, đại là ai tranh nghị với đại học sĩ? Lý Đông Dương gượng cười nói, còn phải tranh với ta sao? Là ba vị đới, Trương, Miêu, Công Công, môi thường lưỡi tiễn ấy, tranh giành túi bụi. Cả ba đều được Hoàng thượng trọng dụng, mỗi người mỗi ý, tín nhiệm bất kỳ ai. Hai người còn lại đều công phục. Hoàng thượng khó xử vô cùng. Tỷ lệ giám hiện giờ vẫn còn bỏ trống chưa quyết. Dương Lăng nghe vậy cúi đầu im lặng. Cả ba người này có mối quan hệ rất tốt với hắn. Miêu Quỳ đấy là chiến hữu từ trước đến nay, từ lúc chịu sự đàn áp của Vương Nhạc, Phạm Đình đã là hoạn nạn chi giao. Bắt được Vương Nhạc giết chết Phạm Đình, Miêu Quỳ ngồi trấn trong cung mới khiến hắn không có nỗi lo hậu hoạn. Lần xử trí lưu cẩn này, miêu quỷ cũng giúp sức rất nhiều. Trương Vĩnh thì không cần phải nói, vốn dĩ là bạn hữu trong bát hồ, từ đầu chí cuối đều duy trì mối quan hệ bằng hữu với mình. Hơn nữa còn là lão ca rất ư nghĩa khí, điểm này ngay cả Cốc Đại Dụng cũng phải thua xa. Về phần đới nghĩa, đấy là đồng mưu trong vụ án giếng nước chảy nước Đế Lăng, giờ cũng đồng nghĩa là thân tín thiết can của mình, cũng không thể làm tổn thương y. Nghĩ đến đây, Dương Lăng cũng không khỏi cảm thấy khó xử. Lý Đông Dương nghiêm túc nói: Quốc công, chức quyền ty đế giám xưa nay phạm vi không minh bạch. Trên danh nghĩa thì ty lễ trưởng ấn thái giám quản lý tấu chương nội các, và cả khám hợp ngự tiền, bình bút thái giám quản tấu chương văn thư, phê chu chiếu theo các phiếu. Trên thực tế thì chức quyền của họ có thể quảng đại vô hạn, quản lý tấu chương, phê chu chiếu các phiếu, nên họ vô tình trở thành nội các trong nội các. Tỷ lệ giám cũng trở thành tể tướng trong tể tướng, cho nên thật sự họ còn quan trọng hơn cả ứng cử viên nội các đại học sĩ. Dương Lăng trầm ngâm một lúc lâu mới gật gù nói: Ta hiểu rồi, hai việc này cứ giao cho ta. Lý Đông Dương cực kỳ vui mừng nói: Đã vô thay mặt bá tánh đại minh, tạ ơn uy quốc công. Dương Lăng nhớ tới Hồng Nương Tử của trại Đường Trại Nhi, trái lại không khỏi thầm gượng cười. Việc này càng quyết định sớm, trong chiều không còn tranh đấu mới có thể tập trung bình loạn hai châu. Ai, không biết ta có cơ hội lãnh binh xuất trận hay không. Trên chiến trận, vạn thương vô nhãn, gia sự, quốc sự lẫn lộn vào nhau, phải làm sao mới tốt đây. Phía tây nam Thanh Châu, núi non trùng điệp, sừng sững hiểm trở, trên núi chính là trại Đường Trại Nhi. Trại Đường Trại Nhi vốn có tên là trại Tá Thạch Bằng, là thời Minh Sơ Phật mẫu của Bạch Liên giáo đường Trại Nhi, từng án doanh đóng trại tại đây trong thời gian dài để đối đầu với quan binh. Cho nên tuy quan phương cấm kỵ, nhưng Trung bá tánh vẫn quen miệng xưng nơi đây là trại Đường Trại Nhi. Nhìn từ phía xa, đỉnh trại này trông giống như là búi tóc trên đỉnh đầu của nữ nhân. Nó được tổ hợp thành từ nhiều đỉnh núi liên tiếp. Núi không cao nhưng cực kỳ hiểm trở. Sơn trại thiết kế theo chiều hiểm trở của dãy núi, tứ phía đều là vách đá dựng đứng. Từ đáy vực nhìn lên không thấy đỉnh, từ đỉnh trại nhìn xuống cao chót vót. Các khe rãnh dãy núi phụ cận thu cả vào mắt, dân cư chỉ bằng nắm đấm tay. Sơn trại này ra vào chỉ bằng hai cái thang gỗ nhỏ, cực kỳ hiểm yếu, nhưng đỉnh trại lại khá là rộng rãi. Một trại lớn này chia làm 4 tiểu trại đông tây nam bắc. Mỗi một tiểu trại đều có một đỉnh cao hình thành tự nhiên. 4 điểm cao này hô ứng với nhau. Trong 4 trại này thì trại nam là cao nhất, mọc từ đất lên, hiểm trở vô cùng. Hồng Nương Tử chính là trú quân ở đây. Một bóng dáng mạnh mẽ đang men theo con đường nhỏ bay nhanh lên núi. Áo choàng trắng như tuyết, trang phục màu xanh nhạt, vừa nhìn đã nhận ra ngay là cách ăn mặc của nghĩa quân Dương Hổ. Dương Hổ vốn dĩ không có phục trang nhất định. Sau khi đánh bại được vài phù trấn, bọn họ thu được lượng lớn vải vóc chưa hoàn công, vải chưa hề nhuộm màu, một loạt trắng xóa bèn cắt may chúng. Nhân thủ cũng đều dùng để làm áo choàng. Thiết kỵ khoái mã di chuyển cứ như một áng mây trắng như tuyết. Phục trang chỉn chu, quả nhiên khí thế khác hẳn. Quân Dương Hổ bèn được quan binh xưng là Bạch Y quân. Đại quân của Thôi Oanh Nhi và quân Bạch Y dường như có chút khác biệt. Binh sĩ của nàng ta đều trùm khăn đầu màu đỏ. Trong quân Bạch Y vừa nhìn bèn nhận ra là người ngựa của Hồng Nương Tử. Đây là điểm khác biệt duy nhất so với các nghĩa quân khác. Hồng Nương Tử được Bạch Y quân xưng là Hoàng Soái. Người đó xông lên sơn trại, mồ hôi nhỏ giọt tiến vào trong đại đường nghị sự của sơn trại. Trong đại sảnh, dáng người thướt tha xinh đẹp của Hồng Nương Tử được gói gọn trong kính ý đỏ như hỏa vân. Áo choàng cũng là màu đỏ. Nàng ta ngồi ở vị trí chủ tọa, hai bên là 6-7 vị tướng lĩnh, đều là nhân vật đầu não của lão trại Thôi gia. đa phần đều là kiêu hùng một thời tung hoành phương Bắc. Sau khi quy ẩn nhiều năm, cuối cùng cũng động lại đao thương. Vị đại hán vừa leo lên trại đang báo cáo tình hình quân sự. Huyện Nhật, huyện Cử, huyện Nghi liên tiếp bị đại quân Dương Nguyên Soái đánh hạ. Hiện giờ đại quân của ông ta đã lên đến 50.000 người. Thế nên chỉ huy quân binh phản công thành Thanh Châu. Hồ Hành Vương và chi phủ Thanh Châu chỉ huy trong binh hộ thành. Song phương đả kích chiếm 2 ngày liền, cuối cùng kiên trì bất hạ. Dương Đại Nguyên Soái muốn chúng ta lập tức tiếp ứng. Đơn vị thành thú của Hồng Hưng Tử nhíu lại chần chờ. Chi Châu, Thanh Châu, Lạc Tiếu Hoa là Thanh Quan. Sau khi bị bức điều về kinh, thì Võ Dân, An Dân vô cùng dụng tâm, công đánh thành Thanh Châu. Ánh mắt vắt lóe sáng, trông thấy mấy vị thúc thúc bá bá đều lộ vẻ mặt thiếu kiên nhẫn. Hồng Hưng Tử mới phát giác ra bản thân hiện giờ đang tạo phản, chẳng phải là Sơn Vương chiếm núi ngày xưa, còn nói gì đến thay thiên hành đạo, chỉ giết tham quan, chỉ cần là quan minh đại minh đều phải giết tất. Ý chí tạo phản báo thù của các quốc bá rất mãnh liệt, bản thân tuy có lòng muốn ngắn để họ ít tạo sát nhiệt, nhưng nếu mãi vẫn chẳng làm nên việc thì đấy cũng được. Thế là nàng vội nói bóng gió. Ở đây không có người ngoài, ta cũng không ngại nói rằng chúng ta bình ít, trước mắt chủ yếu vẫn là người ngựa của lão trạch. Thành Thanh Châu hiểm yếu lại có trọng binh thủ thành, dựa vào đám người ngựa ít ỏi chúng ta thì giờ tác dụng không lớn, hao tổn thương vong. Các vị thúc bá đang an tọa tại đây đều biết rằng phu thê người ta là đồng sàng dị mộc, Hồng Hưng Tử vào Dương Hồ vì không đồng sàng còn dị mộc nữa. Mối quan hệ của cả hai đã sớm hữu dòng vô thực, còn ngỡ nàng ta không nhận giúp sức cho Dương Hồ. Tuy nhiên, nếu đã tạo phản, thế thì bắt đầu thắt ở dây lưng quần liều chết một phen. Có thể an cư sơn trại thế này. Nhị thúc Trình lão thực tức khắc nói: Hồng Soái, kế hoạch của Dương Hồ là khuấy đảo toàn bộ sơn đông trước, nhân cơ hội chiêu binh ngoại bang, tích lũy tiền và lương thực, sau đó hội họp với cả lương lục trực tiếp tiến vào Trung Nguyên. Hiện giờ chúng ta cũng nên nhân cơ hội mở rộng thế lực, cứ mãi nói quân trên núi không những bất lợi với ta, mà còn dẫn tới các đường lộ binh thái hành nguy kịch, cũng nên có chút hành động như phải. Lão tứ chân dương qua hồ vỗ một cái nói: Nhị ca nói có lý. Hoành Nhi, không, đại soái, chúng ta không đến Thanh Châu cũng được, nhưng cư trú trên núi cũng khiến người khác khinh rẻ. Hiện giờ người ngựa của chúng ta tổng cộng không tới 2.000 người, cứ thế này thì làm sao giết tới Kim Lăng, lấy cầu đầu của chú Đức Cam được thì? Ông Hưng Tử nói: binh chú trọng tinh chứ không phải xuống được, thủ đoạn của Dương của chúng ta không dùng được. Trình đã từng nói: binh đúng là chú trọng tinh nhuệ, nhưng cũng không thể lấy một chọn 100. Này đã thành loạn thế, chỉ có xuống núi mới có cơ hội